Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
Well, hello there. I'm Regina King, the evil queen.
And I'm Lynn Roskamp, the docent of darkness, and we're the hosts of Disturbing Interests.
Do you get excited about mummies, decorate in skulls, obsess over the loss of the Library of Alexandria, even though it was lost in a different age?
Do you kill the conversation with your in-depth serial killer knowledge, facts about items made out of human skin, or have a strange longing to know the softer side of Mothman?
Have you spent an objectively disproportionate amount of time studying the life of H.H. Holmes?
Oh, I wouldn't know anybody like that. No, certainly not.
Well, I mean, we did call our podcast Disturbing Interest for a reason.
That's right, we've got them, and we are doing you the favor of keeping the questions like, at what temperature does it take to destroy a cadaver out of your browsing history?
Well, we hope.
Because with us, you might be disturbed.
But you're not alone. You can find us on any podcasting platform under Disturbing Interest, or check us out online at disturbinginterest.com.
Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way.
Mountain Murders is an Appalachian true crime podcast. Some content may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
We say fuck a lot.
You know, all the time when we're in public, Heather's like, do you mind? Use your inside voice. And that is me whispering. That's me whispering. That was my inside voice.
You've got a booming ass voice.
Gosh.
Use your inside voice, Dylan.
That was my inside voice.
We're going to record. We're recording already.
But, oh no, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Oh my God. Don't let them hear me. Okay, so here we are. Hey guys, welcome back to Mountain Murders.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Loud ass motherfucker.
Yo, big mouth ass bitch.
What you doing there, smoky mouth bitch?
Ah, man. Well, I was actually thinking about how I really enjoyed smoking my cigarette. You know, cigarettes, it's funny. Some people, it's hard for some people to understand this too, that don't love smoking cigarettes. Because, you know, it's one of the...
Well, I don't love anything about the cigarettes. And I'm really tired of you stanking up my area with your cigarettes, okay?
No, but see, here's the thing. I know it's bad. I know it stinks. I know it's gross.
And you're making me breathe that shit.
Well, no. I mean, I smoke outside.
If you give me lung cancer, I'm going to kick your ass.
Before you pass away, you're going to kick my ass?
Yeah, and then I'm going to come back and haunt you.
You're going to be like, boo.
I'm going to hide all your lighters.
Oh, see, that's fucked up. All right. No, it's horrible, and I'm working on it, folks, but I gotta love it. God, it stinks.
Nobody cares.
It's terrible.
No one out there cares about your vice.
Oh, no, there's somebody out there taking big, deep drags off that sweet, sweet cancer stick, and then right now blowing it into the phone. Like, yeah, I get you, Dylan.
Quit talking about my great aunt Pauline like that.
I feel you with the Virginia Slims, the 120s.
Okay, Dylan. Again, welcome back to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Hey, Dylan.
Hey, how you doing?
I was doing very well until you started your bullshit.
Look.
Now I'm just here.
Look, I was just in here singing a song to myself. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, singing my song for my people. I was singing, I neither dillied nor dallied. I was in here waiting. Now, you got to give me some props. I even had your computer open.
You did great. It was you You were very diligent in setting up the podcast studio.
I didn't want to get in trouble.
We can get started on time.
Yeah,
I'm excited. It's gonna be a great day.
For me to set Heather up, I actually opened her computers. I said I didn't touch anything. I didn't click any screens. I didn't want to mess nothing up, but I got you ready. I just literally lifted the top on her laptop.
I got you too, boo.
Okay,
All right, before we get started, Dylan, let's give a big shout out to both Tish and Brandy supporting Mountain Murders at patreon.com/Mountain Murders Podcast. It is through support of our patrons that we are able to keep the podcast alive, Dylan.
Thank you, Tish and Brandy. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to hit Brandy open that link to the Discord. Tish is already in the Discord fam.
Yeah, Trish, she re-upped.
Yeah.
Tish re-upped her subscription to our Patreon. And of course, if you would like to sign up for just a few bucks a month, you can access our Patreon, support our podcast, help us keep the lights on here at Mountain Murders.
Yeah.
The studio up and running. And also, you're going to get access to ad-free episodes, bonus content, a link to our Discord chat, extra photos that accompany our cases, little things like that.
A bunch of extra stuff.
Just some little things.
We really do love our listeners and we love our patrons.
Dylan, are you ready to get into this week's case? It is a doozy.
This is a strange case, honestly. And I honestly think, oh, wow, that's going to be my word of the day. Honestly, I think this is one of those cases
when you say honestly, I know you're a lying-ass motherfucker or what?
That's not true. You're a damn lie.
Oh, that's when I know you're lying.
No, that's some BS you and one of my ex-friends used to come up with. Whatevs. That's not true, though. When I say you're a damn lie, it means from my heart, I believe you're lying. Anyway, this is one of those cases going to leave you wondering if you really figured it out. I mean, I think it's going to leave you.
Well, I said it was a doozy because it is an unusual case.
Right.
And in the end, I'm not sure what our listeners, if they're going to walk away believing the right person was charged and convicted.
Right, but I think others will believe that the right person. See, that's what I'm saying. It's not a really clear-cut situation. So let's not waste any time and let's dive straight in.
Well, nobody knew anything was wrong until the exotic birds began to die.
Oh.
By then, no one had seen Doug Benton for 2 weeks, and his worried neighbor, Larry Bridges, who lived in Colbert, Georgia, called the Madison County Sheriff about the expensive birds he had found dead.
Wow. So now when you say expensive birds, you're talking about very, very exotic birds. It's not just a couple of parakeets from the local pet store, right?
No, this is one of the extinct dodo birds.
Oh, no. He had one.
It's been revived.
He had a dodo bird?
No, he didn't, but I'm going to tell you that because you'll believe me.
Wow, that's pretty exotic when you got an extinct species.
Here you go, Dylan. It's called, if you just sit down and listen for a minute, I'm going to tell you more.
Oh, that's how these podcasts work.
But wait, there's more, Dylan. Colbert had only about 500 residents, and those who lived in the area where John Sharp Road converged with Tom Sharp Road knew each other on a first-name basis. What in the small town bullshit is this?
I like that intersection at Tom Sharp
and John Sharp.
And John Sharp out there by them Sharp boys' intersection.
You find out they're not related
no,
at all?
No, and that's funny. That does happen. But, they're not related, and everybody has the same last name.
That's another set of Sharps.
That's the other branch. They branched off a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. Larry, who worked in construction, was good friends with 38-year-old Doug Benton, a welder. Benton sometimes worked out of town, but would arrange for someone to stop by the house to take care of his precious birds. On June 17th of 2000, Sheriff Tom Lutz spoke to Bridges on the phone, expecting a quiet Saturday. Lutz knew adult missing persons cases usually worked themselves out. Grown people could come and go as they pleased, and Benton had likely gone out of town without checking in with somebody, right?
I've been doing that all my life.
Well, that's the thing a lot of times that we talk about with missing persons cases, Dylan, is that adults do come and go as they please, typically.
See, and we've given, how do you say that? We gave the investigators hell over the years for missing persons cases, and they earned some of it because magically every kid's a runaway, no matter what. But I think the part that we sometimes miss is actually they get a lot of false calls. People reported missing, and all it was is they didn't update their friends or family as to exactly what they were doing, or somebody's a worrywart and maybe jumping to conclusions. So there are a ton of those cases too that people truly weren't missing, and I think that adds fuel to that. Give it a few days, it'll maybe they'll turn up.
Yes, Dylan. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Wow, I'm on it today.
Yet when Sheriff Lutz arrived at Bridges' home, he sensed the man was genuinely concerned about his friend's absence. That this wasn't someone simply overreacting. He could tell that Bridges was very concerned. It was when Bridges walked him over to Benton's property, and they found 13 of 51 birds, African grays and Amazon greens, along with other expensive varieties, had died. So 13 of 51 birds dead.
So a large portion of and that's a bunch of birds, a bunch of big birds. Very hard to care for and very expensive. And I have to say, bird people, they love their birds. I mean, it almost...
Well, Doug is no exception. Doug Benton loves his birds as well, Dylan.
No, I'm saying it's almost like a whole separate category from cats, dogs, all that stuff. It's a bird people. They have very specific, very strong relationships with these birds. And a lot of people are like, this is a lot. You got this damn golden eagle flying around your damn house. But they really love them. And they would never, ever just ignore them or allow them to, die.
Skip town without making arrangements for someone to feed and water the birds.
Exactly.
The last time Tracy Fortson, I cannot say her last name.
It's Fortson.
It's Fortson. But I don't know why I'm struggling to say that. Every time I try to pronounce her name, I'm saying it like Fortinson, Forterson. It's Fortson.
Just get it out. Off air, she was practicing this name for
some reason, it keeps tripping me up. And I'll have you know, every time I type the name Doug, I was typing Doe. I kept putting an H on the end of it. And I was like, what is wrong with me this week?
So this is Tracy, Fortson.
Tracy Fortson. Okay. So the last time Tracy heard from Doug, she would tell investigators was when he left a voicemail indicating he didn't want to speak to her anymore. Doug added that he never wanted to see her again. The tone in Doug's voice sounded final to Tracy. It wasn't the first time her boyfriend had snapped. He got angry sometimes, saying things like, "Don't ever call me or come by again."
Wow.
So the first time that this had happened, Dylan, Tracy called Doug's mother, Carol, and told her what he'd said. Just give him some space, Carol had told her. That was her advice. Doug needed to cool off, figure things out, maybe take some time. Tracy heeded Carol's advice. When Doug lost his temper, Tracy would give him distance. It usually worked out. In those early days of June 2000, Tracy didn't know Doug was missing.
See, sometimes some people are hot-headed. Even in the best of circumstances, it's not really their fault. It's just kind of how their brain's wired. And they may get in the heat of the moment, say things they don't mean, and things like that. I'm not like that, but I've known many people like that in the past.
You mean like me when I'm like, get the hell out of my face?
Well, no, I know you're being serious.
And you were like, but I just was breathing, and I'm like, yeah, I know.
And it doesn't matter how much space I give you.
I can still hear you breathing.
No, but some people
text you like 4 miles away.
Yeah.
I can still hear you breathing.
I know you're breathing.
Like, I'm walking around the store. How do you hear me? And I'm like, because I just sense that you're breathing.
I know you're breathing or you'd be dead. No, but some people, once they calm down, they regret it. And they didn't really mean, never speak to me again or it's over, that kind of thing. But it would aggravate me to be with someone like that because I'm more, if I get to the point where I tell you words like that, I mean it. Yeah.
That's why I'm like, get over here next to me.
I can't even be mad today. I feel sassy.
You are. I don't know what you're on today,
I was doing runway walks for Heather yesterday, and I gotta say, I do it pretty good.
You could be a model.
You've been I say she's been making me when I'm actually like, do you want to watch Project Runway with me? We've been watching Project Runway old seasons, and I kind of like fashion.
Dylan, I've come to learn. You actually have a pretty good eye. For fashion.
I'm the blue collar fashion guy.
You are. You could be the blue collar fashionista.
Blue eye for the fashion guy.
There you go.
That worked.
The blue collar fashion for less than $1.
Hey, look at them jean shorts. They're cut just enough above the knee to be sexy, but you're still able to go in Walmart without offending people.
There you go. All right. Can we get back to our story?
Yeah.
Tracy Fortson, I said it right that time, was described as pretty but rough around the edges. Tracy grew up in a dysfunctional household with parents who were constantly fighting. Boy, I've never related to something so much. As her parents' relationship unraveled, like a lot of kids, Tracy found solace outdoors. Tracy couldn't have friends over because she never knew when her parents would engage in some kind of fight or argument.
And there's very few things more embarrassing than when you have company over, even if you don't have terrible parents, and they have any kind of a real spat or argument. It's
awkward.
So awkward.
Tracy's parents also never attended school events for the girl. It was almost like she was just left, to her own devices.
Yeah. Does that seem weird to you, Heather?
No, it sounds like my childhood. A tomboy who grew up riding horses, hunting, and fishing, she dreamed of becoming a wildlife game warden. She also daydreamed about ways to escape her household permanently.
Well, yeah, nobody wants to hear that mess. It doesn't matter who's doing it. No matter if it's I grew up with my sister, God love her, bless her.
Well, somebody needs to.
God rest her soul, I was about to say. Damn.
It's a joke.
Okay. So, dead sisters aren't even off limits here at Mountain Murder. No, but my sister, I loved her.
Dylan, now see you trying to act like I'm the mean one.
I'm just trying to make good content. That was funny. Let's go. No, my sis will be here laughing with us, and you know it.
I was going to say, your sister's some shit.
She was awesome. But, no, but she was, I was the calm, quiet, good kid, whatever you want to call it. Awesome. I was also known as the unit by my mom.
Okay, you're not. Okay.
Anyway,
your mom calls you dill hole and dillweed. Okay.
Dill pickle. Yeah.
Your mom does not call you the unit.
That's French for the unit.
She says, "Can you tell dill hole to bring me a Coke?" Okay.
She does. But anyway, she was like way over the top fighting with my mom. She was the don't want to listen kid. They're arguing or, the whole evening spent, whatever. It's like everything was all about Carrie. You know what I'm saying?
Oppositional defiance.
And that gets so old for the people not involved in those relationships.
Yes.
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
It's exhausting.
It's mentally and physically exhausting.
Listening
it truly
to
is.
other people carry on.
God, especially when they do it all the time, bud.
Yes, because they'll argue about the dumbest shit.
They'll argue about arguing.
They'll just argue about nothing. I mean, it's like they'll get in a fight over something simple like, hey, do you have your grocery store's Advantage card?
Get off my back, bitch.
And then it turns into like a 3-hour argument. And you're like, why were y'all even fighting? It was something stupid. Why were y'all even fighting? Anywho, let's move along.
It sucks
it
being around that.
Sounds like we're reliving my childhood, and also Tracy had a fucked up situation.
And I don't blame her for wanting to get out of it.
But these plans did not work out. She wants to be a game warden. Not going to happen, Dylan. She married young and had a daughter, Elisa. That marriage didn't last very long. Unlucky in love, Tracy married for a second time in the mid-1990s, but it only lasted 18 months. A single mom, Tracy worked hard to provide for her daughter. Tracy spoke in plain terms, and people said, quote, you either liked Tracy and understood her or you didn't. There was kind of no gray area with her, but you always knew where you stood with her.
And I can respect that. It's like I can respect someone who just tells me to my face how it is.
At 5'6" and weighing about 150 pounds, the dark-haired girl next door was no slouch. She valued physical fitness, she ate healthy, and again, she enjoyed all these outdoor activities like deer hunting, which requires you to be in pretty decent shape. You do a lot of walking in the woods, not typically on paths, trails.
No, you're off trail, you're in the deep woods.
If you actually, shoot a deer, you're going to have to drag that deer some miles out of the woods.
Yeah, through knee-deep debris, leaves, limbs.
So you got to be pretty strong to engage in a sport like that.
It's true.
It was September of 1997 when Tracy was working at Ultimate Tan in Athens, Georgia, that she met Doug Benton. Doug worked out at the Gold's Gym next door, and many of the bodybuilders from the gym use the tanning salon. I don't know what it is about bodybuilding and tanning, but they seem to go hand in hand.
There's no pale bodybuilders that I've ever seen. And they tan a whole lot, and then they put bronzers on as well, which, makes them look even more richly colored, if you will. But yeah, it's pretty funny watching those big old huge guys and women, carry on about the tanning and the oils and such.
Yeah. I mean, I think bodybuilding might be kind of interesting, but that's the part where I would maybe not fit in. I'm not going to tan. I don't like tanning.
You would be the palest bodybuilder ever known to the sport.
I was going to say I'd be the most translucent, pasty bodybuilder out there. At the time, Doug was sporting a thick black mullet, which I believe had a little bit of a perm in the back.
Oh, wow.
A little business in the front, perm in the back. He was wearing spandex and had a cocky attitude. Tracy assumed he must have been a power lifter because he had a paunchy beer belly. And she was like, well, I mean, he may work out, but it doesn't look like he's in the best shape because he's kind of got this beer belly.
So he's not completely ripped and super huge. You see every muscle in his body kind of guy?
No, and she'd seen him pull up in a blue convertible Corvette, which also made her kind of do the eye roll thing like, this guy. Just seemed full of himself.
Well, I think we all know the type. Yeah, I think we all know the type of person. Now, you could see this guy, some people think they're way more awesome than they really are. And I can appreciate that unfettered confidence, especially. We were talking about this the other day. I kind of get it when someone's super attractive or super good at something or very, very successful but sometimes you get these people that are none of those things, but they have a confidence, an unbridled confidence that is it's impressive.
And you're like, how are you so confident? Like you've literally accomplished nothing.
What are you doing? Yeah.
You're kind of a loser, but man, you really feel good about yourself.
Can't tell them nothing.
I know. Man, if only I had the confidence of a middle-aged, very mediocre white man, I could take over the world. So when he came into town, Doug asked Tracy on a date. But she knew right off the bat he was not her type at all. Doug was kind of like a walking red flag. He was wearing the spandex. He's tanning. He's got like the long permed mullet. He's driving this Corvette. And then on top of it, he has this attitude like he's God's gift to women. So all those things, Tracy was probably like, ooh, cringe.
Wait,
right?
Spandex, permed mullet, and a Corvette. And a beer belly.
Yeah.
And a tan.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I want to, this guy's awesome.
Well, again, she knows this is not my type. She liked men who were clean cut and drove trucks.
Oh.
Doug walked around like he knew he was good looking, and she did not like that kind of arrogance.
She wants to go mudding.
Yeah.
Can't go mudding in a Corvette.
She's the country girl. She wants to do country girl stuff. She leaned over the counter to check his hand for a wedding ring. Tracy, unfortunately, had experienced being the other woman.
Oh, no.
So she was like, I'm not getting into this again. So she looks for a ring. But he got the wrong idea, Dylan. This is kind of funny. He thought Tracy was checking out his package.
You know what? Before you even said that, I knew what Doe thought. That she's checking out the goods, bud.
So he was embarrassed. And then she was embarrassed, and then they're just both embarrassed.
Who just walks around in spandex all the time? Man, come on. I mean, really.
I guess bodybuilders in the late 90s?
Well, the late 90s, there was a lot of spandex around. There really was.
There's a lot of spandex around today.
Biker shorts, dude.
You know, Lululemon now has a line for men.
Look, it doesn't even matter.
You can go get some yoga pants, Dylan.
I'm about to go get, and y'all going to see every bit of my definition, okay? I'm just going to start taking pictures and we'll post it on our social media everywhere.
You're going to wear some leggings?
Lululemon pants for men.
Okay,
I'm going to get that. We need to do that. That'd be great.
But I have some of those TikTok leggings with the like ruched butt crack. It's supposed to make your booty look good.
It's not.
And they're in like bubblegum pink. You should try those on.
They're not going to make my booty look good, dude.
They're supposed to make everyone's butt look good.
That would be scary. I'm not wearing those. But you know what? It doesn't count when everyone, because let's be honest, leggings, yoga pants, all that has been in for a minute. I mean, it's just it's everywhere you look.
I'm wearing a pair of leggings right now.
Everybody wears them. So what was awesome about spandex back in the day and biker shorts and stuff like that, let alone with the fluorescent colors and things.
Well, it was kind of neat at the time because it was different.
You're the only person with it on within, 1,000 miles. So that really stands out.
Tracy wasn't expecting Doug to call her, so she scribbled down the number to her pager. Tracy had zero intentions of going out on a date with this guy. She'd actually forgotten about giving him the pager number until 2 days later when he called her. You know, he waited the 2 appropriate days, Dylan.
She got paged.
How many days do you wait before you call a lady or a gentleman?
Well, it depends on the circumstances. And maybe I don't call them. Maybe I'll just go home with them. Yeah. What do you think about that?
When Tracy returned the call, I think you're full of shit. Because I know you, and you're going to go home with him, and then, like, nothing's going to happen. Because you're going to be really awkward and uncomfortable.
I'm not going to go home with him.
And you're going to be like, wow, I'm sorry I disappointed you.
Because I'm shy.
Yeah.
I'm shy. What can I say?
Yeah. I think the Pointer Sisters sang about you.
I don't know if our listeners...
so shy. Dun, dun, dun,
this
dun,
woman
dun.
right here really unleashed the real me.
Gosh, I wish I had not.
You want to put me back in the bottle?
I need to put the beast back in the pen, okay?
But I truly was very shy and very reserved. I know it's hard to believe, but it is true. But no, honey, that beer can's been opened. Okay, I'm out. I've been released.
I wound that Jack in a Box and it popped right out.
I'm one of them Janies.
Something, bud. So when Tracy returned the call, she could hear a child screaming in the background. And again, she assumed Doug was married. But Doug assured Tracy that he was not married, divorced instead, and was watching his son while his ex-wife worked. During the phone call, he talked about himself nonstop, which was another big turnoff for Tracy. They agreed to a date despite Tracy's reservations. However, she was twice divorced. The more she thought about a divorced guy with a child, it sounded like drama. And Tracy was not looking for drama or baggage at this point in her life. She called back to cancel the date. He didn't seem bothered and simply said, okay, and then he never called her again.
Oh, how dare she turn down Doug?
Tracy was looking for a career and had considered law enforcement. By 1999, Tracy was the first female deputy hired by the Oglethorpe County Sheriff's Department. She was considered a good employee who loved her job. As a working single mom, Tracy had managed to put herself through the police academy training and graduated in the top 10% of her class.
Wow, so she set her mind to it, and she's doing the damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is what she's always wanted, and she's worked really hard.
And look, I think
She graduated as a top cadet.
Being a single parent, it's tough. I mean, it really is. And if you have some family around you, or somebody, a good friends, or somebody that helps you with the child or children, and that's great. But it's just really hard. It's just you're always running, dropping off, picking up, going to work. I mean, it's just. It never stops.
Well, up until this point, Tracy, being a single mom, she'd worked several jobs. She worked at the tanning salon, and, she'd work 2 or 3 jobs at a time just to make ends meet. But, she's in her 30s. She's looking for a career, something she knows she can do for the next 30 years and have a good retirement.
Right, and that's a good plan.
Tracy had a weekly ritual of meeting her father for lunch at Ryan's Steakhouse on Fridays. It was September of 1999 when Tracy was having the usual Friday lunch with her dad, and that's when she spotted a gorgeous guy who walks into the restaurant.
She caught a glimpse of a mullet and spandex?
No, his name was Dylan Packer, and she fell in love.
And he got freaked out and ran away.
She slayed. No, Tracy couldn't help but notice this guy. He was clean cut and muscular, wearing jeans and work boots. Tracy took instant notice. She thought he looked familiar, but she couldn't quite place him. But at the same time, she couldn't take her eyes off of him. You know what I'm saying, Dylan?
Is this Doug in good shape now? Oh, my gosh.
She decided to get a closer look by walking over to the salad bar. Got to go put some of them little mini corns on her plate while she makes eye contact.
I don't like those. Mini corns weird me out.
That's when she heard the gorgeous guy's friend say, "She's checking you out, dude."
I can totally see the scenario playing out in my head over the smorgasbord at Ryan's.
So, Tracy returns to the table, and as they're leaving the restaurant, she decides to take a chance and walks over the table and asks, "Do I know you?" And he introduces himself as Doug Benton.
Oh, my gosh.
The pair said their hellos. Tracy's like, "Oh, I remember you from the tanning salon." They have a little brief conversation, and then she leaves. Tracy then headed to a pub where she often met friends. She had only been at the pub for about 30 minutes when her pager went off. Doug Benton had immediately left Ryan's Steakhouse and driven home and searched the house for Tracy's pager number from 2 years before.
Man, it was so funny back in the day when people would get a page and they'd be, oh, I got to find a phone. You know, like everybody's acting like it kind of made people act important. Would you agree?
Yeah, I know people with pager. I never had one.
I never had one. I mean, I never seen the need for me to be paged. You know, no one was going to be harmed or helped if they got in contact with me.
When Tracy returned the call, they agreed to a dinner date the next night, which was Saturday night. However, the following day, Tracy was having reservations again about this date. She called Doug saying if he really wanted to take her out, he needed to pick her up like a proper gentleman right then.
Oh.
If you want to date me, you come pick me up like a gentleman. We're going to lunch right now.
Hey, you get over here, you date me right now, you son of a bitch.
Well, Dylan,
Doug came running.
he snapped to it.
Yeah.
Yep. In no time, Doug pulled up to Tracy's house, only this time he wasn't driving that blue convertible Corvette. Doug was driving a really big red dually truck, and Tracy loved trucks.
It's almost like Doug realized what Tracy really liked and transformed himself into that, just in the off chance he may see her again.
Oh my gosh. This is like Can't Buy Me Love 2.0, right?
Yeah.
Learning they were both into eating healthy food, they found a spot to grab lunch. Afterwards, Doug and Tracy took a walk around a lake. Tracy found the conversation was easy. They had so much to talk about. Unlike the first time they had spoken, Doug didn't talk about himself, but instead listened intently. They both agreed it was like talking to an old friend. So this first day is just going, it's just going so well, Dylan. They're just getting along famously.
And that's well, it's good because you're always worried on first dates, right? I'm guessing. I didn't do a ton of dating, but you're always worried about it being weird.
You were worried on a first date? Were you worried on our first date?
No, I already liked you.
You weren't worried?
I already liked you.
Even when I told you I was the devil.
That made me like you.
Okay. Well, she learned Doug had grown up in Michigan. Moving to Georgia as a young person was a culture shock for him. He started working out at 15, lifting weights mostly because of bullying. He was being bullied because, you know, he ain't from here. He competed in bench press competitions and could lift 500 pounds.
Wow.
Doug had many secrets and started spilling them on the first date. He told Tracy about his former addiction issues with drugs and alcohol. He started smoking marijuana as a teenager, which escalated into further use of drugs and alcohol. He had been married at 20 years old, and that relationship had lasted 10 years. During that time, Carol will later say that her son was a mean drunk, but the divorce had been a wake-up call. That's when he had stopped drinking, got his shit together.
Yeah, and a lot of you have to learn lessons along the way in life, many different kinds, and that's okay. But I think only what makes you either dumb or kind of a bad person is if you never learn a lesson. You'll never evolve.
Doug was sober now, but like many bodybuilders, he had used steroids too, which is a dreadful mix for someone who already has anger issues. I've been told.
Roid rage is scary.
That's what I hear, bud.
Well, no.
I take a prednisone for like a cold, and I'm like, rah! So I can't imagine actually taking.
Was it anabolic state? That's the one. I mean, one's specific to this top, bodybuilding.
Well,
kind of
I'm
stuff.
just saying the ones they give you.
Yeah.
Well, they hand out for everything from like you have a sore throat to a cough to like your knee hurts. They just want to pump you full of steroids.
Yeah, I know.
Which I never find to be helpful, and it just makes me feel terrible.
It makes you
and
retain
I get
a bunch of
all
water.
Puffy.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I'm the Hulk, like because I'm like, rah! Like, I want to rip my shirt off and like throw it in somebody's face just because they looked at me. You know what I'm saying?
Then she gets all bitchy.
Well, that too.
No, but it's
Can't
true.
take them.
And that's the mildest form, I'm assuming. So
Stop giving me prednisone. I'm not taking it.
I've never done it, but I've been around people who are actively using steroids and working out. And
you mean like okay, so like real?
Well,
steroids
yeah,
okay,
yeah. Well, yeah, but I'm saying is you can almost feel their tension. It's almost like you're like, it's like you got to walk on the eggshells around them. Not that I'm afraid to whoop my ass, because they can fuck around and find out if they like. But it's just like, you're like, chill, bro.
You had to throw that in there, didn't you?
Well, I don't want nobody to think.
You're so sassy and tough.
Hey, these
time.
I know, that's crazy, right? It's a weird mix. These colors don't run, bud. Okay.
What colors are we talking about?
This.
Well, today you're wearing some neon, so I'm going to assume the neon colors don't run.
The color of Dylan.
You're so sassy.
Oh, hey,
okay.
yeah, wrap yourself in me.
So, as a younger man, Doug channeled the anger in less than positive ways, like working as an enforcer for a drug dealer named Painkiller.
Dude, great drug dealer name, I gotta say. And so he was the muscle, literally.
Yes.
Okay.
He also worked as a bouncer at several strip clubs. Doug admitted he often looked for fights and enjoyed hurting people. He even told Tracy that his testimony had sent Painkiller to prison. Quote, "He will kill me when he gets out," Doug told her.
And please, can the defendant please point at the who is Painkiller, or the witness?
That fool over there.
That fool over there.
After the first
Painkiller.
date, Tracy and Doug became inseparable. She noticed when they went out to restaurants that Doug always sat with his back against the wall, and she recognized this behavior because as a law enforcement officer, she did the same thing. But she asked him, "Why do you do this?" And his response was, quote, "You never know who is out to get you. I have a lot of enemies."
Ah, is that kind of mysterious and sexy to women sometimes, you think? Or is that disconcerting?
I would find that disconcerting.
Well, you be fighting them
Because I'm like, look, I have a lot of enemies, and I never know who's out to get me either. I'm like paranoid for no reason. So it probably would not work for me to be with somebody else who's paranoid.
Heather's enemy is anxiety, and she would already be sitting over against the wall watching all exits just like Doug. He would have to push her out of the way.
Well, if you know, I do this in
I know.
restaurants. Because I might have to run or something.
I'm telling you, if the shit goes down, she's going to help me get out of it. Because I'm just like, I'm enjoying myself.
Keep my head on a swivel.
I'm living life. I'm not going to be hyper vigilant.
Well, I've told you, you be the beauty and I'll be the brain. So just sit there and be pretty and be quiet.
That's not true.
Doug told Tracy he had worked as a confidential informant for law enforcement. Many local law enforcement officers in Madison County knew Doug and had a friendly relationship with him. So whether Doug was a CI or not, we don't really know. But that's a story he liked to tell people.
But he is known to rub elbows and be familiar with many members of the law enforcement community.
Yeah, you could say that. Tracy and Doug had many common interests, including weightlifting. Doug became part of not only Tracy's life, but also her daughter Elisa's, often taking them out to eat. She worked lengthy 12-hour shifts at the sheriff's department. So, when she's off and has some breaks, they're spending all their time together.
Yeah. Most law enforcement, they work like basically a DuPont schedule, like I did. A 12-hour swing from nights to days.
They do. Tracy mentioned she'd always wanted a Harley Davidson. Doug explained that he actually owned a motorcycle, but had let a friend borrow it because the guy might buy it. Doug retrieved that bike, gifted it to Tracy, and then went and bought himself a Fat Boy so the couple could ride together. What's a Fat Boy? I mean, I know that's like a kind of bike.
It's a Harley Davidson.
Well, yeah, I know, but why?
I just think it's got a wider body on it or something.
Why is it called a Fat Boy?
I don't know, because it looks like me with a seat and handlebars on it.
Well, you've already got a seat and handlebars. What are you talking about?
No, it's I don't know, dude. I don't know. People care. I like Harley Davidsons. I've seen some beautiful bikes. You know what I'm saying? But I can't keep up with all that stuff, man. The knucklehead, the shovel back, and the humpback, and a Fat Boy, and a low ride. I don't know what it is.
It's a shovel head.
A Sportster. It's a smaller bike.
A panhead. Yeah, I know what a Sportster is.
Because I knew some guys. This guy like finally got a Harley Davidson, but it was just
they call it a knucklehead.
No, it's the tiniest little Sportster you ever seen, and they were just like totally clowning this cat, telling me it was like a girl's bike.
Well, yeah.
I don't mean to be offensive, but
most women I know who ride Harleys have a Sportster.
It's because it's small, a little bit smaller. They are heavy bikes, so yeah. But no.
I would need like a kid's version of it. Like, do you have a child's bike?
No, this cat was totally stoked and
so
thought
I'm really short. My feet won't touch the ground.
He thought he'd get her some training wheels. He thought he had really like arrived, and like everybody clowned him till he got rid of it.
Oh,
I
poor
felt kind of bad for the
guy.
guy. I'm like, bro, ride your Sportster. Get you a pink helmet. Just let it live. Let him live.
Yeah. Get you some chaps.
I want a Viking helmet.
Yet there were still secrets. Doug didn't admit to Tracy that he had a second son until they were already several months into the relationship. And it was only when his other son made a comment about having a brother. So that's not okay.
That's not
to
okay.
keep secrets.
Not okay at all.
What other information had Doug been keeping from her, Tracy wondered.
Hey, look, if somebody doesn't admit or actively omits the fact that they have children, period, or, more children than you know about, that to me is a huge red flag. That would be a deal breaker because that's weird.
I could see that being weird, but I also think, sometimes you just don't want everybody to know your business.
Well, sometimes from that point, sometimes things are complicated, and it's not something you really want to lay out for people early on in relationships. I don't know.
I mean, you could have told me early in our relationship that you had lived with the insane clown posse crackhead who might want to kill me.
You wish she was on crack. Look, she would have came by and mowed her grass for $5. I'll be like, she'll find out soon enough. And I know the bushes are rustling. You're gonna find out about her soon enough.
And I did. Thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem.
And she's like popping out of a bush because she's stalking me.
You ain't never went with me to the Mexican restaurant.
I can see I wouldn't take her either. I'd be damned embarrassed to go out with that thing in public.
This sauce ain't hot enough, you some bitches.
Shove a burrito in your face and shut up. An incident that stuck out to Tracy was the first time she met Doug's best friend, Jeff Bennett, and his wife. The couple went on a double date to Red Lobster.
Good old Red Lobster.
To get some of them cheesy garlic biscuits.
I was going to say, don't they have some kind of bread people carry on about?
Yeah, and biscuits is good.
Yeah, I went to Red Lobster a couple times. I wasn't impressed. I thought it was way overpriced. The biscuits were okay, but, I mean, come on.
Taste the biscuits, Daddy. Taste the goodness of the garlic biscuits. No.
Have you ever noticed that table bread, as I'll call it, is really, sometimes good or a lot of times it's mediocre, but if you don't get it and the other tables around you are getting it, you feel like it's like the greatest thing ever.
I get chomped because I'm like, where's my table bread?
Where's my table bread?
Where's my sub loaf that you've cut into like little pieces?
Where's my yesterday's loaf?
With my fake butter margarine spread.
That doesn't want to spread.
That makes my tummy hurt, but bring it anyway because I deserve it. I ordered an entree too, you asshole.
Yeah. They got their bread before us.
I ordered an entree and I got a Pepsi to drink.
You ever see people overly worried about someone? I'm pretty sure they were here before. They were here after us or something.
Oh yeah, people get really riled up. They seated them people first.
Don't cut in line.
This is like something my dad gets upset about. Tracy recognized Jeff from the tanning salon, as many of the bodybuilders who worked out at Gold's Gym also frequented the salon, Dylan. When Tracy indicated that she had met Jeff before, she said she thought Doug seemed agitated by this.
Really?
Almost like he didn't like the fact that Tracy knew his friend, even though it was in some kind of innocent capacity.
Wait, let me get this right. You've talked to men before in your life? Before me?
No, Dylan, you're the first. Jeff's attitude suggested he did not like seeing Doug with Tracy. The entire night, he made verbal jabs and sarcastic comments directed at the two of them. Afterwards, Jeff became irritable, often calling Doug, yelling, because he had missed their workouts together. Doug asked Tracy to join him and Jeff for workouts, but Tracy said it was very uncomfortable. The men lifted heavy weights and Tracy did not. So they would have to stop what they were doing to unload weight for Tracy. And she felt like she could just sense that Jeff was unhappy with the situation. Like he did not want Doug's girlfriend, the third wheel, kind of edging in on their man time.
I've never understood the friends, male or female, that get mad about when their friend gets with somebody. And I know sometimes it can be like your friend treats you like crap or they blow you off and then they're all, when they need your ear or they have drama in their life, they're all, coming to you and stuff like that. But sometimes people is like, I don't know if they're, it's like they are so possessive of their friend. And I would just be happy for my friend if they're happy.
Well, yeah, but I've been on the other side of that where I've had girlfriends that get a boyfriend and literally drop you like a hot potato and don't talk to you for like 4 or 5 months until they finally are having a problem with their boyfriend, and then all of a sudden they want to be your bestie again. And you're like, bitch, you ain't called me in months. What are you doing?
Well, that's messed up. But I mean, if they're in a normal.
Well, I say I had friends like that, but I don't anymore.
But if they're in a fairly normal relationship and you're just jealous that they're spending more time with that other person, I think that's weird. I think that's weird.
No, it is very weird.
I mean, I guess I've never had the ultra super best friend that I've known since kindergarten kind of thing, and I get that's a strong relationship. But I've just seen, I've seen guys get so pissed because all of a sudden now their buddy's got this cute little girlfriend and now he has to sit in the back. Like, people get mad because they sit in the back.
Oh, he has to sit in the back.
He's like, you want to scoot over next to him?
He don't get you right in the front seat next to his boy.
You're going to sit in the little middle seat. You scooch all the way over
how cute.
in the Ford pickup.
Fellas, you're both pretty. You can compete with the girl in the short shorts.
No,
you're
you can't.
Just as cute as she is.
Unless you're touching his pee-pee, you can't compete with that.
Well, you never know, Dylan. There could be a reason for that jealousy. Tracy felt like a third wheel, like for real. She said, quote, Jeff's attitude got worse by the minute. If Doug missed a workout, Jeff would call 2 or 3 times in a row, like trying to figure out where he was. Tracy could hear Jeff scoff on the phone and be like, are you with that bitch?
Okay, see, look, here we go. I knew this is what happens. But it is on Doug to check that shit. Look, bud, don't talk about my lady like that.
Tracy finally asked Doug, what is Jeff's problem? And Doug told her, he's just mad.
He big mad.
He's just mad.
It's just the steroids.
In one incident, Doug was working and couldn't answer the phone, so he asked Tracy if she would grab his cell phone, which is not totally uncommon, right? When she picked up, she couldn't hear anything on the other end. It was like bad cell service. So she keeps asking, hello, I can't hear you, and then finally hangs up the phone. Later, Jeff called Doug angry, accusing Tracy of purposefully hanging up on him.
God.
And had like a big blow up about it.
Jeff's a big baby.
Jeff is a big baby, it sounds like, Dylan.
Now, Heather, have you ever... Okay, I know I'm sidebarring a lot, folks, and I'll let Heather move on because this is a good story and I got to hush. Have you ever had a relationship with a guy who had a super jealous bestie?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I had, this is so many years ago. I was in college and there was a guy who did not go to my school, but he was friends with my friend group, went to a different college. And we kind of met each other and instant attraction.
Oh.
So we kind of start like a long distance, just chatting. This is back when people were doing the AOL Instant Messenger.
Yeah.
So we were like chatting and that kind of thing. And, pretty consistently. And then, when he would come to town, we would hang out.
Oh my, you loved him.
No, I didn't love
you
him.
lit up when you started talking about this cat. Tell me more.
You asked me.
Tell me more.
No, I liked him. I was not in love with him.
Okay.
But, I liked him, whatever. And then I met his best friend who treated me like shit from the beginning.
What?
Was just such a dick to me. So the best friend and I, because the best friend ended up coming to my college.
Oh, okay.
Like the next semester. And starts hanging out with my friend group. Because they all knew him.
Right.
They had all gone to high school together. So he starts hanging out with my friend group. And he's a dick. And so I took it upon myself to just give this guy shit every time I saw him. I was mean to him. Like, we were kind of mean to each other.
Yeah.
Like, we would just be cracking sarcastic comments back and forth and just sort of shit talking to each other. And everybody was just like, gosh, you guys hate each other. Like, what the hell? Why do y'all hate each other? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what his problem is.
But he's messing with the wrong one.
Yeah, because I'm like, you're not going to be a dick to me, but I'm going to give it back to you. Then, okay, so his friend and I, things kind of drifted apart.
Wait, what was his name?
I'm not telling.
Why?
Because you don't know him.
But I don't know. I want to know what his name is. I'm not for bad. I'm not going to look him up and fucking beat his ass.
Which one? Guy 1 or guy 2?
Not.
Okay, can I tell you the story?
No, bro, yes.
Okay, so
Dude.
you ask me and then you interrupt me and I can't tell you.
Hey, this is juicy.
I wasn't even going to tell. You asked.
Oh, I want to hear this.
All right.
Damn.
So the guy 1, the long distance boyfriend or whatever, that didn't quite pan out. I mean, distance, it doesn't quite work out, whatever. So things ended, whatever. Well, then guy 2 kind of continued being a dickhead a little bit to me, But then
You hooked up with the dickhead?
one night, like randomly, he starts messaging me on the AOL Instant Messenger, and I'm in my dorm room.
Yeah.
Because I have insomnia, and I've always had insomnia. So I was like up late, and I guess he saw I was online and starts like messaging me like, why are you up so late? You know, are you working on something? And I was like, no, I just have insomnia. He's like, well, so do I. Let's go for a walk. And then come to find out, long story short, he had a crush on me.
You're a freaking slut.
He had a crush on
You
me. And that's
whore.
why it was mean to me, because he didn't want me. He was like, I didn't want you
Oh.
dating my friend.
Because he was just jelly.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we
Okay.
kind of, dated and had this
Damn.
like on and off tumultuous relationship for like a couple of years,
Who did I marry?
back and forth.
Gosh. I wish I could have been guy 3. Hey, yeah.
You're the best guy.
Oh, you know what?
You know what? You're the number one guy.
I'm the last guy.
But I'm just
I'm
saying.
the last guy.
Yeah, I did have that happen. So
Okay.
it's kind of weird.
Well, no, but it turns out he really liked you, so I get that.
And he was jealous.
He was just jelly.
And he was like, I knew my friend didn't deserve you.
Oh,
You
he
know.
fell for that shit.
Well, yeah, his friend didn't deserve me. I was way cool.
You're awesome.
I was way too cool for his friend.
You
It's
were
true.
okay. Damn.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, guys used to like me before I met you. Who
Guys
treats
still
me
like you.
treats me like I'm your roommate.
No,
It's
that's
cool.
not true.
Yeah. Why don't
That's
you
not
high
true.
five me again, bud?
I would high five.
Okay,
you.
bud.
You're my look. I told you the other day. You're my soulmate, and you are my best friend.
Yeah.
It's all rolled into one.
Is that why you like make little armpit sounds in my face and stuff?
See, we could never have this because you'd have to you'd have to get in an argument with yourself because you're my love and my best friend.
Okay, can we get back to the story now?
Yeah.
We've dilly-dallied too much.
All right,
We've
I'll
already
hush.
lost like half the people listening to
No,
us.
they've turned up the volume. Listen to your little stories. Damn, girl.
What can I say? They were both very hot.
We could do the college years starring Heather.
No, we can't.
Oh, we can.
That would have to be an explicit rated episode. Okay. In the past, Tracy felt that she was always like comparing men when she got into a relationship to Elisa's father, which was her first husband. You know, he just kind of embodied what she felt like was everything she'd wanted in a guy, even though that relationship hadn't worked out. So every time she would date someone, she would always be like, oh, well, he's not exactly like husband number one. But when she met Doug, she felt he was the total package. She stopped comparing. That was the first time she stopped comparing a boyfriend to the ex.
Okay, so
she
she found
just really likes Doug a lot.
she found somebody else for her.
Yeah. And Doug's mother, Carol, recalled her son's enthusiasm about his new relationship with Tracy, something she had not seen in him before. He told Carol, quote, I really like her. So by all accounts, they just seem crazy about each other. Doug had a motorcycle accident in which he fractured an ankle, bruised an arm, and a shoulder. After getting banged up, he told Tracy maybe they should ditch the bikes because he didn't want Tracy to have an accident.
Just because you can't drive don't mean I can't ride, bud.
Tracy began feeling the tides turning at her job. So, in her position as the only female deputy with the Oglethorpe County Sheriff's Department, she often heard off-color remarks and jokes, but just rolled with the punches, figuring it was the nature of working with men. And Tracy could keep up with the best of them, which I find if you are in a male-dominated workplace, you do kind of have to adapt and overcome.
You have
Some of your sensibilities might just go flying out the window.
I've seen this in a, just not in a male centric setting. You have you do have to just go with it to a degree, but what the best thing you can do is give it back to them even more.
Yes.
and they'll hush.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean you can't give it. It's just basically like a school bully.
Yeah.
And chauvinistic little men who are scared to death and insecure on the inside, a strong woman who's killing it. They're both attracted and mad at her at the same time, but they know that they're not her type at all, and they never will be. And it just, it's hard for them to deal with. But that's why they're little bitches.
Yes, agreed. Well, the male deputies and employees of the sheriff's department often had their spouses or girlfriends stop by the station. Like it wasn't uncommon for someone to stop by, bring lunch, maybe come hang out at your desk for a few minutes. Not unusual, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no one batted an eye when this happened. But Tracy noticed when Doug popped by to visit or drop off lunch, the other deputies made comments, and she got the feeling they didn't want Doug hanging around. Then one of Tracy's co-workers started making inappropriate remarks, including spreading a rumor that Tracy was a former stripper.
Wow, that's so original.
He told people that he had a photograph of Tracy with 2 men, implying that it was like a pornographic photo.
Then get it out, dude. That's what I say. Let me see it then.
During a meeting, one of the deputies asked Tracy what color her thong was, and she was humiliated. Tracy couldn't understand why this was happening. She had never been a stripper and knew there was no such photo in existence. But just the fact that these men that she works with are making these comments and talking about this and talking about it in a very public way, like during a meeting.
This is so inappropriate.
She is not okay with this, and I don't know anybody who would be.
It's not okay, and it's totally inappropriate for anywhere, especially the workplace.
After this behavior carried on for a bit, Tracy finally told Doug what was happening at the sheriff's department. As her love life bloomed, Tracy's professional life seemed to disintegrate. Doug was upset, and he told Tracy she should quit the sheriff's department. Doug also advised Tracy that she should consider filing a lawsuit for sexual harassment, telling her she was sitting on a gold mine.
And I agree with him because, this is not okay to treat someone like that.
Tracy was 33 years old when she joined the department and hoped that this was going to be like her full-time career. Like this was the job she would retire from. She was all in with the sheriff's department. And she didn't want to quit just yet. She hadn't even worked there for quite 2 years at this point. Sheriff Ray Sanders said, quote, "She was a good deputy. He described Tracy as an asset to the team and doing a great job until around December of 1999. That's when he noticed a change in her personality, work ethic, just about everything." Sanders said Tracy and Doug were often fighting, which others believed was encroaching on her job performance.
And that could be true to a degree, but there's also a hostile working environment's been created.
Well, they will deny this is the case.
Well, I'm saying if these things are true that they were doing, and this is a number one sign of a hostile working environment is the performance of the employee going off. You take a good employee, all of a sudden they're not a good employee. It's usually something's happened.
Friends also described the relationship between Tracy and Doug as tumultuous. Jeff Bennett claimed Tracy was incredibly jealous, possessive, and demanding. The couple had breakups and drama, and things were stormy. They would break up and get back together. They would have these big fights, like more than just a loud argument where they're yelling at each other kind of fights, like just, a spectacle, a scene.
It's hard to be around a couple that does this.
And if you remember, Doug had confided in Tracy that he had been a confidential informant and had allowed law enforcement to use his property for surveillance in breaking up a meth operation. Others say Doug was well known to law enforcement, friendly with cops, and word spread on the street that he was a snitch. Doug admittedly knew about the drug trade, and his mother Carol said something odd happened about a year before he met Tracy. Doug had recorded a VHS tape, like a recording, for his son. He told his mother Carol if anything happened to him, Doug wanted his son to get the video. Carol thought it was strange, but Doug insisted he had been threatened by the drug dealer Painkiller that he'd helped put away.
Not Painkiller, dude. Painkiller can reach out and touch you.
Tracy complained about the work conditions and told other deputies she needed to make more money. In February of 2000, without working a 2 weeks' notice, Tracy quit the sheriff's department. At this point, Tracy goes to work for Doug. He's got a welding business, and she's earning about $300 a week. Tracy also helped with the exotic birds. Doug was raising exotic birds. During this time, Doug urged Tracy to file a lawsuit against the department for sexual harassment and discrimination. In April of 2000, Tracy filed for unemployment insurance. She also placed a grievance with the state of Georgia's employment office, claiming she was sexually harassed at the Oglethorpe County Sheriff's Department, specifically naming Sheriff Ray Sanders as one of the perpetrators. Sanders denied the claim. Tracy requested an appeal. She hired an attorney named Margaret Dial to represent her in the lawsuit, and Tracy alleged that she had audio tapes of the sheriff making lewd sexual comments.
Wow.
Others, including Carol, knew Doug had a history with Ray Sanders. She felt her son's push for Tracy to file a lawsuit was some kind of retribution on Doug's part. A hearing was scheduled with the Department of Labor on June 12th of 2000. When Sheriff Tom Lutz returned to the office, now we're skipping around a little bit here. Remember, he's been reported missing.
Yeah.
We went into their backstory. Now we're back in the present time.
I like that.
In the now time of the year 2000.
Oh, is that when this is?
So when Sheriff Tom Lutz returned to the office, he called the Oglethorpe County Sheriff's Department. If Doug's girlfriend was a deputy, surely she would want to help. Maybe she knew where Doug was or could offer up information to help find him. He was told that Tracy no longer worked there. Now, at that point, Lutz considered maybe Doug and his girlfriend had taken off together somewhere. Lutz had learned that Doug lived alone. Sometimes his children visited, but for the most part, Doug was a man who didn't need to answer to anyone and could just come and go as he pleased. But still, Lutz felt the dead birds meant something, and it just didn't sit right with him.
Most people aren't going to leave their pets like that, no matter what pets or animals they are.
It's true.
Because they love them and they deal with them daily.
Tracy phoned Lutz at some point. Now, according to Tracy, a deputy from the Oglethorpe County Sheriff's Department stopped by her house to say that Sheriff Lutz of Madison County wanted to speak with her. Lutz informed Tracy that Doug was missing, asked if she'd seen him, and then informed her that, quote, some of Doug's birds had died.
Wow.
We're broken up, Tracy explained. Quote, I haven't seen him for the past couple weeks. Tracy didn't know where Doug was, but offered up on the phone numbers of Doug's good friends, Jerry Alexander and Jeff Bennett. Tracy also informed Sheriff Lutz that Doug's mother lived in Michigan. She suggested he may have gone to visit, and he had a brother living there too. Tracy had last seen Doug on June 4th of 2000. Lutz concluded that date was the last time anyone had seen Doug Benton. Based on conversations with Tracy and friends, the sheriff sensed foul play was involved. Doug was not the kind of person to just drop off the grid without any sign. In the past, Doug had informed someone he was leaving and when he would return. He also asked someone to take care of those birds. So we've got multiple people kind of making the same blanket statements.
Right, and that's the more people that confirm that, it's got to make you think.
Jeff Bennett didn't know where Doug might be, but told Lutz to call Jerry Alexander. Jerry Alexander told the sheriff that Doug's truck had been at his house within the past week. When Lutz asked about the relationship between Doug and Tracy, Jeff Bennett said, quote, they had a really bad fight. But he didn't give specifics like a date, though Lutz got the impression it had been recently. Quote, Tracy pulled a gun, pointed it at herself, then at Doug, and a physical fight occurred.
Wow.
Jeff made a point to say the couple had fought many times. He also said the friendship with Doug had cooled off. Jeff stopped hanging out with Doug, including working out with him, because of Tracy. He couldn't stand to be around Tracy, whom he described as loud, belligerent, and always butting into Doug's business. She wouldn't leave Doug alone and was always pestering him.
She wouldn't let him come out and play.
Jeff had given his friend an ultimatum. You get rid of Tracy and we'll hang out again. Unfortunately, they never hung out again.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's how that works. I mean, that's a big ask of a friend. Now, it's one thing to be, if you're concerned for your friend and you want them to have a good, healthy relationship. But, I mean, from what you were describing earlier, it's almost like Jeff never liked Tracy being in the picture because she got in the way of their friendship.
Or did Tracy not like Jeff and didn't want Jeff to be friends with Doug? I mean,
it's
kind of both sides. We're hearing both sides kind of pointing the fingers.
Or did he think that Tracy wasn't good for his good friend and he thought that they should not be together and he wanted the best for his friend?
Right, Dylan.
Okay.
When Sheriff Lutz phoned the family in Michigan, they mentioned they had not spoken to Doug in a while, which was unusual. He was often calling to speak to his mom, his brother. Lutz ruled out Doug had not gone to Michigan at that point. When Sheriff Lutz called Tracy to ask about the fight, he noted that she avoided all questions on the matter. She told Sheriff Lutz that Doug had called her and left a voicemail saying to stay away from him and his home. Now, Tracy will later dispute this claim, stating that there was no fight. It was just an argument on Saturday night, which led to Doug leaving this message on her machine June 6th.
Well, look, if there was a gun, if anyone was brandishing a weapon like that in any kind of a spat or argument, I think that's a pretty big deal, if that's true.
Well, according to Tracy, the argument had sparked over a scene in the movie, An Officer and a Gentleman.
Oh, hey, my blood gets I get worked up when I watch that movie. All right, you better.
I get a little worked up when I watch that movie too.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Zach Mayo is damn Richard Gere. You looking good?
I ain't got nowhere else to go. I even thought Louis Gossett Jr. was kind of sexy in that.
He is.
Yeah, he's kicking ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has long legs.
I love a man in uniform.
And big hands. Yeah.
Especially when they're quiet.
Oh.
Anywho, I like the strong silent type. I don't know how I ended up with you. Okay. No uniform for this guy.
Hey, that's a great movie. I mean, that's hands down a great movie.
I love it.
It really is. It's an American classic. I want to watch it now.
The ending, the final scene of the movie.
Dude, it's powerful, right?
I know. I always wanted some hot naval officer to sweep me off my feet.
Lord, lift us up where we belong.
Unfortunately, I just got an enlisted Navy guy who was a piece of shit. So there's that.
He just let you follow him up the ladder.
Thanks, first husband. Okay. They were arguing over the part where one of the female characters informs a male character that she's pregnant, trying to trick him into marrying her. It was Mayo's friend, the kind of goofy country guy. Anywho, I think he was from Oklahoma. I can't remember his name in the movie. Doug got angry because he said a woman had done this to him. Tracy said Doug was paying a considerable amount of money in child support and attorney fees. But Tracy went on to explain that this argument was blown way out of proportion in the police reports. Doug and Tracy had disagreements all the time, as couples often do. She said the argument was not enough to keep Doug angry from Saturday until Tuesday. However, she is saying that he called her on Monday and never wanted to see her again.
So she's down. Well, she's in her mind. Let's say either she's downplaying it, or from her perspective, it wasn't that big of a deal, and it wasn't totally out of character for him to call and say, "You leave me alone. I never want to see you again." And then a day or two later, they're back together.
Right.
So she didn't think it was a big deal.
He decides the officer and the gentleman is maybe not the reason to blow up their relationship.
That's a hell of a reason to have a big fight, dude. I wonder what the issue was, but we'll figure that out later.
Well, we figured it out. It's because the girl was trying to trap the dude.
Oh, that pissed. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that. I was over here thinking in my own head. So
even despite the fact that I said that's the reason he got mad and that he was paying a lot of child support and attorney fees. Okay, Dylan.
So he totally gets pissed because this girl traps
the dude. The friend in the movie.
And they start arguing about that.
Yeah.
That's a ridiculous reason to have a fight, right?
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
Yes. Jerry Alexander told Sheriff Lutz over the phone that Doug's truck was parked at his house, then gone. But according to Jerry, the truck had been dropped off in the middle of Sunday night with a note. The note said, quote, "Jerry, I trust you to take care of my truck. Don't try to contact me. I'll contact you later."
Yeah, because that's not weird.
Jerry lived in Lexington, Georgia. He had known Doug for about 10 years, and they had gotten work together several times. Again, Doug's welder. Jerry's, I believe, a welder as well. Jerry and his wife had gotten Doug to go to church with them in 1990, and Doug had gotten saved. This is around the time that I guess he's trying to turn his life around. He mentioned the truck was parked at an angle as if it had been dropped off in a hurry. The keys were in the ignition, and the note had been taped to the truck's window. Jerry was worried mostly about finding the truck and the note because he knew his friend Doug had some issues with depression. He almost felt the note was a sign and wondered if Doug had done something to himself.
Oh, so Jerry's just completely worried about his friend and neighbor.
Well, it's not a neighbor. It's just a friend.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, his friend.
Yeah.
Right.
Jerry told the sheriff, quote, "I don't think he left the property. He might have hung himself in that building back there."
Oh, gosh.
So by now, Lutz has come out to the property. He's taken a look at the truck. And that's the thing. Jerry at first told him, well, the truck was here and then it was gone. But then when Lutz gets there, the truck is still there.
That's weird.
So it's kind of weird, right? Yeah. So there's an abandoned barn behind Jerry's house. After securing the vehicle, Lutz had it towed in. It was standard police business, but this did not sit well with Jerry Alexander. He became outraged, asking to see a warrant. Lutz informed him, quote, "We do not need a warrant. The truck is part of an investigation of a friend of yours who is missing."
Well, yeah, why is he, wouldn't you want them to find out what happened to your friend?
Well, Jerry stated he had already contacted a lawyer about it. Lutz once again assured him that the sheriff's office did not need a warrant to take this truck. So he's kind of upset. The sheriff finally kind of talks him down off this ledge.
Well, then called a lawyer.
Jerry's wife comes outside, because her husband's causing a commotion. And that's when she's asked about Tracy. She said, quote, "Well, I can tell you that she has caused severe marital problems between my husband and I do not like that woman." So
she does not have a high opinion of Tracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently Doug's friends don't really like her too much.
So, okay. Painting a bit of a picture here. Tracy could be a lot sometimes, maybe.
Jerry added that Doug would have never left the house and let the birds die. He said, quote, "This is really serious." Jeff Bennett spoke with an investigator. Again, this guy is named Buck Scoggins.
Oh, dude, great name.
So Detective Scoggins, he informed the officer that after one fight, Tracy had taken Doug's wallet, cell phone, and pager back to her house. Douglas had been furious, demanding that she return the items because he couldn't even buy food. He didn't have his wallet. He didn't have his debit card. Tracy had told him she was going to work the next morning and that he could come to her house and pick up the items. It seemed to establish the nature of Tracy's character. Jeff also informed Detective Scoggins that he had known Doug for 16 years. They had met as welders in Barrow County, and the two remained close, competing in bench press competitions and working out together. They had spoken daily, often several times a day, until Doug began dating Tracy. Jeff said she was domineering and is, quote, "a possessive tomboy type of person."
Oh.
She demanded that Doug show her constant attention. She was manipulative and had violent tendencies. Tracy demanded to know all of Doug's business and was consumed with basically stealing all of his time.
Have you ever done that? Got in an argument and try to take all people, take their like personal stuff, like wallets and... just have you ever done anything? I've never understood people like this. I've seen it happen.
No, one time I got mad at you though and I hid your phone.
Well, yeah.
Because I was just like, "Fuck you, dude. Try to text me. Can't find your fucking phone.
I don't remember that.
Stick it up your
Are you
ass."
sure that was me or was that the other guy?
No, that was you. I hid your phone. I was mad at you.
You
were drunk and being a dick, so I hid your phone.
See, that's why I don't remember it.
I left and hid your phone. And I was like, find it, bitch.
Well, I'm sorry you went through that.
You don't even remember because you was probably drunk.
No, I was. Apparently I was because I totally don't remember that. That's why I don't drink anymore. But have you ever known someone like this, a male or female, that like wants to... and what this is it's affecting the other person. It's about control, and it also makes them have to come have contact with you again.
I've known people who acted a damn fool in relationships and did like stupid, crazy shit to their partners. But I don't think I've known anybody who would just like take their partner's stuff.
It's
or, like,
weird.
Hide it.
It's weird.
I'm the only person that takes stuff and hides it.
Yeah.
It was just that one time.
Well, honey, it's okay. I don't remember it.
I know.
So it didn't even bother me.
I didn't even really hide it in a good spot.
No.
But I was just like, yeah, try to text me now, bitch.
She hid it in the AA pamphlet. I'll never find it.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I hide it in the liquor cabinet.
Yeah.
Knowing good and damn well you're going to find it there. Okay.
Hey, that's why I don't drink anymore. I don't hold that against you because I don't remember it.
Good. Good. Then you won't remember the other stuff I did to you when you were drunk.
Hey, if I don't remember it, bro, then that's all good. I don't care.
Remember that morning and you were like, "Wow, I can't hardly sit down. I don't know why my ass is sore."
Oh, nobody
Wink,
remembered
wink.
that. I was acting like I didn't remember.
She always wanted to know who Doug was with and where he was. So paging him constantly, just needed to always know where he was.
Oh my gosh. That's exhausting.
Which I have known couples like that.
I had my ex would call me, and look, I was never doing anything like devious. Now I might be like hanging out, drinking with my buddies when I should be home.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Imagine that. And maybe not doing the exact right thing, but it certainly wasn't the other females or anything like that. But she would call and just, they'd be listening. I know some of our listeners know this move, and maybe it's a woman thing. No offense to women, or maybe I'd say I've seen males do this actually. So it's not a woman thing. But they'll call, but what they're doing is they're listening in the background for anyone else to say so, or they're just looking for the background noise, and they're not even listening to what you're saying. They're totally just listening, waiting to hear someone behind you or something like that, which I think is totally weird.
Yeah. I had an ex that would get pissed off if we were in a public place, like the grocery store.
Okay.
And someone would walk by and speak to me, especially if it was a male.
If they knew you or knew of you.
And he'd be like, "Who's that?"
Oh,
God. And I'm like, "That's the fire marshal. I interviewed him last week for my job." Because I was a reporter, and I had a very public job where I interviewed and talked to a lot of people in the county. So a lot of people knew who I was because of my job.
Yeah.
And he would be like, "Who's that?"
See, when this happens to me and Heather, I would just go stand quietly over there until she calls me over.
It'd be like my hot lover.
It makes me part of her
I'm an
conversation.
asshole, so I'd be obviously some guy. I blew him a few years ago, I guess. I don't remember.
I
but
met him in the bathroom a
he
minute
said
ago.
it was the best he ever had, so I knew it must be true.
That's never bothered me for people, and that's happened many times when we were together. People, you've been around. Hey, you're around there for a long time. You grew up there, went to school with people. That's never bothered me. For someone to come up and talk to you, like I'm just not an insecure dude.
Yeah, I just never understood that.
I'm not. I'm a lot of things, but insecure is not one of them.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why I like to fuck with people. Again, I just make up stories.
Yeah, I can imagine, and you can sell it too. That's the bad part.
Fire marshal. Oh, he had to come over and put out my fire. It was raging.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what a weirdo. Anyway, moving along.
Fully engulfed.
Jeff said, quote, "Doug told me many times that she would get violent toward him, and when they had trouble, she would threaten to shoot herself or would take things from the house. She would also threaten to turn him in, though Doug was not sure what she was referring to."
What did he do?
Like, what are you going to turn? Yeah.
You're just going to make it up or what? Now, look, if she's doing these things, and you seems to be not just one person saying this, multiple friends, family. It's not only something I wouldn't want to put up with. It's kind of disturbing behavior, I think.
Detective Scoggins decided if Jeff Bennett was being truthful, the relationship was a lot more volatile than simple arguments. There was possibly more to Doug's disappearance.
Right.
Quote, "Doug told me Tracy explained to him how she had beat up both of her ex-husbands and that one of them she hit in the head with a pipe while drunk, telling police a burglar had done it. She also told Doug that she once set their trailer on fire, trying to burn it with him," meaning the ex-husband, "inside of it, but the fire went out. She had threatened to shoot herself once, holding a gun to her head to get Doug back. Whenever they had an argument, she would go home and then call him incessantly until he would let her come back over. She would not leave him alone." End of quote.
Damn.
So yeah, apparently she's beating up her husband. She's trying to burn the house down.
And the only reason it didn't work is because it went out. I mean, that's kind of scary, bro.
Yeah, a little bit.
If that's true.
He also added that Tracy had been doing work for Doug, mostly administrative types of work. And once after a fight, she went into Doug's house and started deleting files from his work computer.
God, the vindictive, scorned lover.
Tracy was vengeful. When Doug realized what she was doing, he grabbed her and tried pulling her away. Tracy then went outside and tried kicking over one of Doug's Harleys.
Oh, no.
You know, you don't
No,
kick,
she
don't
didn't.
you kick a man's back.
Don't you? You better leave that bike alone.
She turned as he stopped her and threw a punch at him. Doug blocked the punch and told her, quote, "Don't you ever try to hit me again." Tracy walked to her truck and said, "I will kill your ass."
What'd that fat boy ever do to you, Tracy?
Tracy kept a pistol in her truck. Doug grabbed a rifle from inside the house and pointed at her and said, quote, "I will shoot you if you get out of that truck with your gun.
Damn, dude, this is scary
That's when
fights.
Tracy tore out of the driveway.
Guns mixed into domestic disputes. It scares me. It just scares me. It really is.
Now, Jeff is telling this story because he was there and witnessed it, allegedly.
So this is an eyewitness account.
Yes.
This is not hearsay,
Yes.
if you will. Okay.
If the story was true, Detective Scoggins thought it showed the two got each other going.
It's true, yeah.
Jeff hadn't seen Doug since May 23rd or 24th, so it's been even longer since he's seen his friend. There was a violent thread woven through Doug and Tracy's relationship, which changed the dynamic of the investigation. Detective Scoggins needed to get Tracy in for a more formal interview. The Madison County Sheriff's Department was still in the information gathering stage of looking for a missing person. Tracy was not being interrogated. It was simply a voluntary interview. Tracy said Monday, June 5th is the last time that she saw Doug, though it was noted in the police report that it was Saturday. It was like June 4th.
Okay. So maybe she just made a mistake on that.
So she said she tried to mend fences. She had gone over to Doug's house, but he was not interested in making up. He had broken up with her. Now it was over, and Tracy was trying to move on. She had called around to some of Doug's friends and family asking if they'd heard from him. Tracy says she didn't actually know Doug was missing until the cops called her. So for that 2 weeks, she didn't really know what was going on with him.
So in an investigator's mind, you're getting this one story of this controlling, volatile, person who will not stop until you let me come back. But her version is, I guess it's finally over, so I'm just trying to pick up the pieces and move on with my life. Those are two very different viewpoints, really.
Tracy said a law enforcement friend had told her, quote, "Listen, Tracy, if Doug told you not to go over to his house, it's probably better that you don't." So she didn't. After careful examination of Doug's handwriting, that note that was taped to the window, several investigators believed there was no way he had written the note. Deputy Clayton Lowe came out and told the media, quote, "Somebody else wrote it."
So they're not handwriting experts, but just even from the amateur eye, it seemed obvious that if you compare it side by side, there's no way.
Yeah, they described it as it almost looked like someone had used their
non-dominant hand.
Yeah, I was going to say the
Ooh.
non-dominant hand.
Wow.
To write a note.
Because it doesn't look
like
smooth.
child scribble,
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
Okay, that's weird.
Rob Poston and his wife were out among the 1,500 acres of cattle that he managed on a Sunday afternoon in June when everybody was out looking for Doug Benton. Rob caught a glance of an oblong metal container that made him stop his ATV. Rob's instincts told him to investigate. Rob and his wife hopped off the ATV and walked over to this object out in a field on this farm.
Yeah, look, one thing, farmers know every inch of their land. They're out there looking every day for problems, issues. They've been over every piece of it.
Checking fences,
looking for livestock that are having issues. They know their land.
Well, as they approach this object, there was a putrid smell.
Oh my gosh.
Death. No.
So this seems to be a strange object.
The farm in Stevens, Georgia had a large herd of beef cattle. It's not unusual to find a dead raccoon or squirrel, but this was something else. There was also a game preserve at this, farmland where people were allowed to hunt.
Okay.
So again, it's not uncommon to have maybe a deer.
Or a deer that's
something.
been field dressed,
Yeah.
where they'll just take what meat they want and they leave the rest of it there.
It was a cattle trough or a horse trough. Rob thought it made no sense that a cattle or horse trough would be so far out in the middle of nowhere, sort of hidden and partially buried into the dirt. The trough was spray painted camouflage.
Oh.
He tried to remove it, but the trough wouldn't budge. He took some pictures of it and then left. Returning with a tractor, Rob was able to hoist the trough out of the ground. It had been buried several inches, not entirely, but one end seemed to be a little bit deeper in the ground than the other. It appeared to be filled with fresh, hardened concrete.
Okay. So this is going to be this is a weird discovery. I don't care who you are.
And on top of this coffin-shaped trough, it was topped with fresh soil like peat moss. Like someone had tried to kind of bury it and plant grass over top of it. It's painted camouflage. I mean, this is pretty obvious that someone's trying to hide this thing.
Someone's trying to conceal this container for some reason.
Yes.
And there's a putrid smell abundantly around it.
And the thing weighs like a ton.
And it's a big trough of concrete.
It's like 1,000 pounds or more.
Very strange.
They tried to flip it over, but it was too heavy. Rob had a funny feeling something just wasn't right, so he calls the sheriff's department. A deputy and a GBI investigator, which is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the state police. The state police officer was actually at the sheriff's department for some reason and just kind of hopped along.
I was going to say, how did the GBI get out there so quick? So he's just there.
He's just kind of there and goes along with this deputy on this ride.
On this weird call.
Yeah, let's just go out to this thing.
Hey, I got this thing out here. It's full of concrete. It stinks. It looks like someone's trying to conceal it.
Yes.
That's going to pique people's interest.
Using the tractor, Rob and the deputy were able to flip the trough on its side. The deputy had a small chisel and screwdriver. Deciding it was more than an animal buried in the container, they called EMS and a coroner to come out. So there was a dirt road that passed about 175 feet or so from where the container was found. There were 2 gates to get into the property near the same section of the farm. One of the gates had been busted open, they could tell. They were able to chisel some of the concrete, and that's when they were able to make out a human arm.
Oh my gosh.
The arm had a rose tattoo, and one of the investigators knew immediately who belonged to this tattoo because they had seen this person out in town. It was a fairly distinct tattoo, not a common tattoo. It was some kind of like rose.
Okay.
On the was that the bicep, right?
I think that is the bicep, Heather.
Yeah. Well, you've talked my ear off until now. I'm tired and I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's okay. That's how we do it.
The arm had a rose tattoo, and the investigator knew this was Doug Benton.
So they've found their missing man.
Then it all made sense. Realizing there was a missing persons report on Doug Benton, the investigators needed to confirm the man buried in concrete was Doug. He had not run off. He hadn't run off, Dylan. He had not gone into the woods to kill himself. Someone had murdered the man and buried him in a trough, covering the body in concrete.
Or was this one of the most elaborate unaliving events ever?
I feel like it would take a lot of work.
Yeah, like a big Rube Goldberg that shoots your coffin trough out into the middle of the field by itself.
Soon they would have Doug's body out of the trough, and his family would be on their way to Georgia where they could identify the body. Investigators know 8 out of 10 murder victims know their killer. There was a good chance Doug Benton knew the person who murdered him and put him in this trough.
So now he's had friends and family frantically looking for him, worried to death, and now they're going to get the most terrible news that you can get.
When Jeff Bennett was informed that his friend was dead, he was silent for a few minutes, then told the deputy, quote, Tracy had something to do with it. On June 20th, a multi-agency team secured the proper paperwork to search Doug's home. They felt there was a second crime scene somewhere. A missing persons investigation, as we know, is different than a homicide. So when they return to Doug's house, they are taking note of the surroundings. And they pick up on a few things that maybe the sheriff didn't notice the first time.
Right. I mean, at first it starts out as basically a welfare check, and I've seen these go down before, and they're just nonchalantly kind of checking things out, and they don't break into buildings and look around and stuff like that.
They noticed impressions near bushes on the side of the deck, along with some faint tire tracks in the grass, as if a vehicle had backed up to Doug's deck. There was a feeling that something had taken place inside the house. Once they go into the home, Dylan, there was an immediate smell of fuel, kerosene, diesel, or gasoline that was potent. And it had not existed on the first day that the sheriff had arrived to take that missing persons report.
Oh, wow.
So we're only like 3 days in from the time the sheriff showed up at the house And now we're there with a search warrant.
Okay, thanks for pointing that out. I didn't realize it was that quickly.
Well, within that 3-day span, someone had entered into Doug's home. There was a discoloration on the sectional sofa, they noticed. It was pink in color and more worn, as though someone had scrubbed it with a cleaner of some sort. It was, in fact, a spot that had been cleaned once they get in to look at it. So an investigator takes a knife and cuts open the cushion where this cleaning had taken place, and down in the cushion fabric was a reddish-brown stain.
Oh yeah, I can imagine this is I can imagine this type of cushion. It's that old yellow foam. I'm guessing, and it's just going to soak stuff up.
Officers knew the stain. They had seen it before. It was blood. Whoever scrubbed the couch was trying to get rid of a blood stain. On a section of the carpet was another reddish-brown stain. From the carpet, investigators could see that someone had been injured on the couch. Lots of blood spilled, which seeped down into the cushions and flooring. There was also a candle nearby, which had been lit and burned all the way down. It appeared as though someone was trying to burn the house down, but the candle had not done the job.
Also, they spread some accelerant around, and the candle was going to act as a fuse.
Because they are smelling kerosene.
Yeah.
All over the house.
So someone wanted that house to burn, but they wanted to be well away from it when it went up.
Yep.
Wow. I know a better way to make a fuse.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
They also found prints from a latex or rubber glove, because they kept finding prints, but there were no fingerprints, so they knew someone had worn gloves in the house. Investigators theorized that whoever came into Doug's house and murdered him scrubbed the couch, cleaned up, tried to light the house on fire, and had also tried to cover their identity by wearing gloves. So obviously they're taking steps to cover up a murder scene. They also noted that the shower curtain was missing.
Oh.
Tracy had taken her daughter, and they were now staying with her mother when she got that phone call from a cousin saying that Doug was found murdered. The cousin told Tracy, quote, "They think you did it."
Damn. So basically word spread very quickly.
Yes.
That, and I think you already had maybe rumblings in his in the
immediate circle of
in his
friends.
immediate circle that if something's happened to Doug, maybe Tracy did it. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Well, in the meantime, Tracy's family secures a lawyer, Tom Camp, from Athens. Tracy said, quote, "I knew what was coming at me, a runaway freight train." Crime scene analysts went to work. In Doug's truck, the tape used to stick the note to the window was examined, and something stood out about the tape. It wasn't the run-of-the-mill tape you'd buy at the store, like Scotch tape, whatever. It was a very specific type of tape that was only used by law enforcement. It was fingerprint lifting tape.
Shut up.
However, no fingerprint appeared, as if though the person had used gloves when taping it to the window.
Okay, well, I mean, if that's weird, and something they would recognize very quickly, being law enforcement.
During autopsy, it was noted the body was moderately decomposed. Skin slippage had occurred because the hands were nearly degloved. The underlying soft tissues were in good shape, though. The organs had decomposed until they were mush. Doug's body, encased in the concrete, had been wrapped in a shower curtain, a bed sheet, and then a second shower curtain before the concrete was poured on top.
That poor guy.
On Doug's side, his right buttock had been riddled with slits from a knife blade. So someone had kind of stabbed his right buttock and almost along his hip into like his groin area.
That's wow, really.
Investigators theorized that Doug was sleeping on the couch, laying on his side wearing only underpants. Doug's killer had shot him in the head while standing above him and then stabbed him 10 times on the body near the groin and buttocks area.
Damn.
Doug had a single gunshot wound to the head. He was shot at very close range, but at that point, the brain was liquefied when they did the autopsy. But they did find that the bullet remained in Doug's skull, and they described it as like the bullet had pancaked.
So it was fragmented at that point?
Yeah.
Okay.
So kind of hard to do some of the ballistics testing.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to get ballistic marks. Now,
Yeah.
you know, I have seen where they can actually analyze the metals in there and maybe not 100%, but they can.
Well, they think this is a 22,
Yeah.
possibly. There was a cord also tied around Doug's waist and 2 thin ropes around his feet. So he's bound. By June 21st, a search warrant was issued and troops rallied at Tracy's home in Winterville, Georgia. One thing investigators noticed was that Tracy's mailbox was painted a camouflage print, almost like the same design used to hide the trough. A small box of rubber gloves were found inside the home. A .22 caliber Stevens Model 15 bolt action rifle was also located.
Well, can I say that all camouflage print looks the same to me? I mean, when people paint like an old truck or anything like that, it always looks the same. So I don't know how strong that is, but
Okay, well, there are different kinds of camouflage
look,
print.
I know that as far as I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. The people out in the country when they paint up an old truck or car or something.
Well, yeah,
like that.
but there are different styles, and I'm sure
Oh,
that not all camouflage looks the same, Dylan. Would you quit arguing with me and let me tell my story?
you can't see me. I'm painted.
I wish I couldn't hear you either.
You camouflage my voice.
Gosh, I would love to camouflage your voice for just like 10 minutes of my day. Let's see. 3 spray paint cans were found in black, green, and khaki.
Damn.
2 bathroom towels with blood stains, and a roll of fingerprinting tape.
Okay, well,
There was also a brand new plastic shower curtain hanging in the bathroom. It's one of those that investigators said when they walked in, they could tell it was brand new because
smell
it
it.
had that smell.
it smells like
The
chemicals.
brand new plastic PVC smell that radiates off of a new shower curtain.
We all know that smell. And
that shower curtain liner.
it lasts for a while, and it kind of takes your breath when you're first in the shower. You know, it's so strong. I don't think it's good for us.
The duty belt Tracy had worn with the Oglethorpe County Sheriff's Department was hanging in her home, and it had a leather pouch where an officer would place a knife. But the knife was gone.
Okay.
On the carport, they found potting soil, much like the potting soil that had been placed on top of the trough.
It sounds to me like they're finding all the things that could connect Tracy to Doug's murder and subsequent encasement in concrete.
When arriving back at the location where Doug's body was dumped, investigators noticed a tree with some specific markings, as if something had been tied to it and pressure exerted. It appeared as though someone had tied a rope or cable around the tree, and the tree had been used as leverage to pull the trough off a truck bed and onto the ground.
And this is at the scene on the farm?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because remember,
It's very heavy.
about 175 feet away from the body, there's a road.
Right, but it's like someone had this big heavy object in the back of a pickup.
The gate had been busted down.
But they didn't have enough enough hands or power to get it off, so they used leverage and tied it and basically drove out from under the trough.
Yes.
And pulled the trough over to where it finally rested.
Yes.
Okay. Wow, dude, there's a lot of evidence here.
Well, the investigators concluded Tracy Fortson had killed Doug Benton using her truck to transport the watering trough with his body in it onto farmland she knew well because she had hunted there previously.
Oh, yeah, she was a deer avid hunter.
And this is also hunting land, like a hunting preserve as well as a farm, with many people hunting there, including Tracy.
Well, this doesn't look good for Tracy.
Looking at the scene and evidence collected, it made the most sense to detectives. Tracy's 1998 Ford F-150 was brought in for analysis. Cement splatters were visible from the bed of the truck, as if somebody had mixed concrete in the back. There were also several bags of potting soil in the truck bed. The rear driver's tailgate light was broken. There were several cans of camo-colored spray paint in the truck's cab.
Was there a receipt for a trough that had been recently purchased? I mean, what is going on?
There were also scratches consistent with metal against metal, like maybe the watering trough versus the truck bed.
Okay, this is not good.
Tracy was arrested and taken to the Jackson County Jail only because Madison County did not house females. She was placed in protective custody due to her former status as a law enforcement officer. Tracy would later say once in jail, it didn't take her long to realize she wanted to drop the sexual harassment suit against Sheriff Ray Sanders. She thought if she dropped the case against Sanders, then he would drop off the investigation because she felt she was being framed.
Ah, yes. I guess we can't forget that she had had issues with this police department, this sheriff in particular. And so that's her idea is they're framing me for the murder.
Well, she worked for the Oglethorpe County Sheriff's Department.
Oh.
She's been arrested by Madison County, but is being housed in the Jackson County Jail. But yes, Tracy feels like this is some kind of elaborate plot by her former employer to get back at her for filing the sexual harassment lawsuit.
Through other counties' police departments? I mean, I don't know.
So Tracy begins telling people this is all part of this elaborate plot, and this mountain of evidence was to scare her into dropping charges against the sheriff's office.
Okay, so let's devil's advocate this. There is a lot of evidence. It's almost perfect evidence. Let's be honest. So, I mean, if someone does all these things, do you just keep every single piece that you used to paint something, to tape it? She was a good cop, right? She was known as being a good cop, good at her job. So she has she thinks like a cop. Do you use fingerprint tape? A very oddball specific tape?
Well, that's going to be Tracy's arguments against these things.
It gives it a little bit of credence just because this evidence is so freaking perfect. Okay, let's go.
Well, if Tracy's claims were true, that meant 4 different law enforcement agencies were colluding to frame Tracy for murder, including the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
I mean, that's tough, but that's a tough sell, yeah.
It was determined that on June 4th of 2000, Tracy had purchased items from the Southern States Lawn and Feed store, including a watering trough.
Just stop. I mean, okay. And then she swung by and got 6 bags of concrete, right? I mean, Jesus.
My next line is Tracy asked how much concrete she would need to fix a dog pad.
Just stop. And can I get some rope? Because I'm pretty sure I ain't going to be able to move his stuff.
Tracy bought 10 bags of concrete, with 8 of those being placed inside the trough.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Tracy will admit she made those purchases.
Yeah.
She also bought a salt block and watering trough, and that these were purchased for her horse.
Okay, so she does have a horse.
I guess she has a horse.
Okay, well, they need a trough.
I didn't know she had a horse, but she has a horse.
Okay, well, she's saying they're for her horse.
Yeah.
And I guess other people will know whether or not she has a damn horse.
Well, Tracy ought to know you save the horse and ride a cowboy, so I don't know what she's doing. But
and got to have that salt lick, right? They need that, apparently.
I'm going to buy you a salt lick.
I would use it.
I know. You eat a hell of a lot of salt.
I know.
You got to stop that.
I have been working on it.
You're going to die.
Miss Ann, yeah, our friend has told me that I use too much damn salt.
You gonna die, motherfucker?
And I barely passed my physical the other day, so I think I got to work on it.
Yeah, they say you're blind and you're half stupid.
No, I'm blind and deaf, but they said that happens from a
being old,
a lifelong, a lifetime of being the unit.
The unit.
Because when
I knew you were gonna say that.
When you excel at this level, it kind of burns up your body, bud.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm punchy. All right, I'm sorry.
The only unit you got is like a millimeter, so why don't you shut up?
Yeah, hey, but
now,
that is a unit of measurement, so
law
stop.
enforcement announced no one else had been implicated in Doug Benton's murder. Despite Tracy's arrest, some members of law enforcement didn't think she acted alone. It was too heavy, too much work for one woman. Tracy's bond was set at $500,000 cash. She wasn't indicted until October of 2000 on charges of felony murder, malice murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, and attempted arson. Even with the overwhelming amount of incriminating evidence against Tracy, she concluded it was a well-thought-out plan to frame her for bringing a sexual assault lawsuit to the sheriff's office, or that Doug's work as a confidential informant had caused his demise.
Well, I'm gonna say whoever did do that. Well, look, 1,000. If his trough truly was near 1,000 pounds, that's a ton. That's a half of a ton, literally. That is a lot of weight. No one can handle that by themselves. Very few people could manage this into a truck and out of it. And it was not a well thought out plan.
So they think what happened. They think what happened was Doug was shot on the couch.
Okay.
That Tracy used a shower curtain to pull his body from the couch to the floor on the shower curtain.
That's a common murder move.
And then she dragged the shower curtain out to the back deck, pulled her truck up, because remember there were tire marks and a couple of bushes that looked like they'd maybe been run over at Doug's house, and that she had managed to load his body onto the truck, into the trough, and then she mixed the concrete up.
And so she was
in the trough, in the bed of the truck, and that's why there were cement splashes like all around the truck's bed.
Oh yeah, I mean the picture of the evidence. It's not a well thought out plan. Whoever did it.
Once this trough set
with all the concrete,
she drove over to the farm. She used the tree there and a rope or some kind of,
pulleys and such,
some kind of rope or
something,
chain or whatever, to move the trough from the truck bed.
Yeah, I see that. Look, you wrap it around the trough, you go around whatever your leverage point is, you come back to the hitch of your truck, and you just take off. I mean, I could see that working. And it was discovered kind of jammed into the ground.
Yes.
Yeah. One end almost basically
inches
buried.
Kind of buried down in the dirt.
So, I mean, it sounds like, it sounds plausible. And again, a dumb plan if you're trying to get rid of a body, because you've brought in all these other components that were kind of unnecessary, if you will. I think her hope was, or the killer's hope was, that the concrete would set and it would contain the smell and all that. And I guess she didn't count on an eagle-eyed farmer spotting it.
On July 10th of 2001, a jury was finally chosen. As the district attorney laid out all the evidence, it became apparent that law enforcement had developed an airtight case. Each piece of evidence pointed to one person, Tracy Fortson. Tracy's defense immediately opened with statements that she was wrongly accused of the charges. This was a crime she had nothing to do with. Her attorney claimed the investigation into Doug's murder was botched, how the state failed to follow obvious leads and focused only on Tracy.
Yeah?
Some evidence presented included samples of paint from the spray paint cans found at Fortson's residence, which actually matched the composition of the paint on the trough.
Now, if they did a chemical analysis, that's kind of hard to discount.
Well, there's that, Dylan. Recent scar marks on the trees at the site where the body was dumped matched marks on Tracy's pickup truck. Concrete in the bed of her truck had the same geological origin as that in which Doug Benton's body was encased. Physical evidence showed that Doug had been shot in the head while he lay on his couch. Tracy possessed ammunition of the same type as the fatal bullet, and she owned a rifle that could have possibly fired that ammunition.
So all they could tell was it was a .22 caliber round. They couldn't get any ballistic marks or anything like that. But I have to say that's a very common round.
Well, it is.
Even people that don't have anything else, they have an old .22 rifle laying around or a pistol.
Yet Tracy said, quote, "There was no blood inside my truck, on my trunk, or in the bed of my truck. One of the reports claims there were deep scratches in the bed of my truck as if something heavy had been dragged from it. Yet there was no paint transfer from the metal bed of my black truck to the metal trough."
Wow.
Tracy didn't have a truck liner, so her comments do make sense. Another issue was blood that they found on a closet door at Doug's house, and the DNA did not match Doug or Tracy.
Most people don't leave blood on. I mean, that's just not. I don't think that's a common occurrence to have blood on your knob at home.
This blood was never entered into CODIS for testing, which Tracy thinks is not okay because it shows that they didn't follow all the leads.
Could this really be an elaborate plot against Tracy? I mean, that's a valid point about the paint transfer to the trough. I think that's a valid point.
Well, in the end, Tracy was found guilty on all counts. All 5 counts, including malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault with a gun, aggravated assault with a knife, and attempted arson. Tracy did not testify at the first trial, but she would be granted a second trial based on ineffectual counsel. And this second trial would be moved to Effingham County in 2004. She would again be convicted and sentenced to life in prison.
She may have thought about the paint transfer, and she may have removed it. She may have ground it off of the trough.
In 2015, acting as her own lawyer, Tracy filed an extraordinary motion for a new trial, which was the last appeal available. The state Supreme Court denied this appeal. The case was finalized and closed. Tracy exhausted all of her appeals at that point. Tracy Fortson is serving time at the Lee Arundel State Prison in Alto, Georgia. A life sentence, Dylan.
Damn.
The killing attracted media attention with episodes of Doug's murder appearing on Deadly Women and Snapped. And I have to say, I watched both episodes.
Great acting.
And I started cracking up in the midst of the Deadly Women episode.
Yeah.
So much that someone's like, "Are you laughing at murder?" And I'm like, "No, I'm laughing at the reenactment."
Yeah.
It was so bad.
Dude, some of those shows, it's really great.
The Doug and Tracy fights, the reenactments, they're so cheesy on this Deadly Women.
And it's bad because it's talking about this poor man. Whatever happened, I'm sorry, I got to say, I think it was Tracy. I mean, when she had her outline cases, not in depth. And at first I was like, that's kind of wild. But I really, 3 or 4 agencies, including members of the GBI who were there at the discovery of the trough very early on, I can't see that. I really can't. What do you think? I mean, it's too much. I mean, over just a sexual harassment charge, bud. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, I guess it could happen in a movie or something, but it seems unlikely. What do you think?
Yeah.
I think Tracy's guilty. And she's just kind of dumb, bro. Like, why did you keep all that shit?
But even now, Tracy says, "Why would I do these dumb things when I was a cop and knew better?" So.
Wow. Gosh, there's almost just a little twinge of me that is like, that's true. She surely could come up with a better plan than this. Wouldn't you think? She was a sharp, good cop who thinks like an investigator would. And this is like the most bumbling murder body hiding that I've ever heard of, right? Or do you do so dumb that could be your defense later?
I don't know, Dylan. All I know is I not only use those TV shows as research, but I also read M. William Phelps' book, Targeted, A Deputy, Her Love Affairs, A Brutal Murder.
Well, at the end of the day, this poor man was killed. He was killed and brutalized and treated like so much trash after the fact. And that's terrible. And I'm sure his friends and family and everyone around that area were probably kind of devastated by this.
But you know what, Dylan?
What?
Surprisingly, Doug's mother, Carol Benton, stands by Tracy. She does not believe Tracy killed her son.
Really?
She does not buy it.
Wow.
She says it doesn't make any sense to her.
And now
she doesn't know how this 150-pound woman could commit this murder and do all these very physical things alone. Because her son is a big guy, probably weighs in at 250 pounds, solid muscle.
Right.
Big dude.
Yeah.
And she says there is no way that Tracy did this by herself. She
Honestly,
doesn't believe Tracy did it at all.
Honestly, it would be hard for Tracy. Honestly, 150 pounds, even though she was physically fit and all that, it would be hard for her to get the body off the couch onto a shower curtain and drug out the door without there just being blood everywhere. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, you could do it.
I'm just saying. I mean, there are ways, I think, that this could happen.
Well, yeah, and Doug, that wasn't known to have people pop in and out of his property. So, she may have had plenty of time. And, God, the death trough. I mean, what the hell, dude?
The trough of death. All right, Dylan. Well, thank you for sitting down with me today to talk about this true crime case out of Georgia. And we will be back in a few days with our midweek episode.
I can't wait. Thanks for having me.
Bye, Dylan.
Bye.